Volvo, I've often felt, does not get its due credit here in the Indian market and in several European markets, perhaps because its cars are not the flashiest or the most sporty to drive. And yet, the Swedish company offers safety features that are right up there and a drive experience that's refined. Does the much awaited S60 about to hit Indian roads in March 21 offer all of those promises and then some more? We have the car in the flesh to find that out. This S60 has been around in global markets for some time now, but here in India it does come as a breath of fresh Swedish air in the T4 trim. It's stretched out, has a low slung profile, and overall a sporty touch to the exteriors while staying true to its inherent Volvo visual character. Rarely do we get test cars which are white in color, but that aside, it's important to focus on how the new S60 looks. There is the very typical, very imposing front grille here with the diagonal Volvo badging. Trademark, of course, is the Thor hammer headlight on either side of this front grille. Just beneath the headlights are the fog lamps, which are now in a C casing, and the new S60 has a very wide, a very beefy profile, which is characterized also by these very strong, sharp bonnet lines right here on either side. Beefed up isn't something that would usually describe a Volvo, and the S60 leans more towards a racy visual profile from the side. That low slung profile doesn't hinder the ground clearance, and that wheelbase has gone up by 100mm, which is visually evident. The size 18 wheels and the 10 multi-spoke black diamond cut alloys are just gorgeous. The rear takes over from the side profile, and the C-shaped tail lights add a whole lot of smart glitz to an otherwise clean profile. The shark fin antenna sits on top, while the T4 and the Volvo badge are on the either side here. Now the boot opens up nice and easy, and there is really very generous amounts of space for your luggage. Just for reference, I brought along an empty suitcase, but even if this suitcase was filled and was heavy, I don't think it would have been much of a problem to lift it, because the lifting angle to get luggage inside this boot is not a lot. So lift, push, and that's it. The feeding mouth, of course, is not very wide when you compare it to certain rivals. Also, something that's missing is a button either here or on the key to auto shut the trunk. So for that, you'll have to do it manually. But we've spoken about how the car looks from every angle and also the boot. It's time to find out what Volvo have done inside the S60. The S60 cabin is typically minimalistic yet premium, typically clean yet loaded. Basically, it's typically Volvo. So there are three color options to choose from as far as the upholstery on the S60 is concerned. One is the most premium, perhaps the white color. Then there is the maroon brown and the black that we're in right now. The brown and the black are perhaps best suited for Indian conditions. Add to it the luxurious feel and fit of materials here in the S60, and the cabin is a good place to be in. Soft touch plastics are omnipresent with a nicely spread out dash, a hint of chrome on the door handles, and driftwood inlays on the front and center panel whisper Scandinavian aesthetics. There is also a linear line inlay option. The 9-inch vertical infotainment system is a familiar sight for Volvo owners, even if it may take some getting used to for new customers. Being large, vivid, easy to reach and responsive, however, helps its cause. And while we're here, it is important to once again highlight how most of the safety features on this car has a dedicated screen space. And while the list is exhaustive, do note that the rear cam resolution is rather unimpressive and there is no side or 360-degree view. The S60 does get a moderate list of good and great features, but really how comfortable is it to be driven inside the S60? And this seat right here is positioned to how I like it, and well, sitting behind it I have excellent knee room. The leg space is pretty decent. The headroom, I'm not the tallest person, but even someone taller than me won't really have much to complain about. The seating position, the recline on these back seats are pretty decent too, but even a child won't perhaps be very comfortable in the middle seat because of the large hump. Instead, what you can do is roll down the armrest, which has a place to put in your mobile. I've put in my face mask right here, and if you like a sip of coffee, then just open up the tray. On the flip side though, I really don't like how small the windows are, the rear windows. From the outside they're pretty big, but because of this high window line here, I have to sit like this with my arm sort of on an incline, and the overall feel from at least the side windows isn't something great. Thank God, of course, for the panoramic sunroof on top. If driving and not being driven around is your thing, the Volvo S60 does offer the same plush feel in the front seats and then some more. There is lumbar support adjustments, memory function, and under-thigh support that can be extended. The cushioning on the front two seats is as generous as on the back seats. However, massage and cooling functionalities could have made this the absolutely perfect place to be at. But is the S60 the perfect car on the move? Now, to find the answer to just that question, I've brought the S60 to the meandering roads that connect Delhi to Noida and beyond. The S60 makes use of a 4-cylinder 2-litre petrol engine, and before you ask, well, there is no diesel option. But the one that's available on the S60 is good enough to give it 190 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque. The Volvo cars, as I mentioned, have never really been known for their sporty character. That is where perhaps the S60, the new one, the one I'm in right now, seeks to be a little different, because there is that sense of wanting to offer a sporty character to the driver if he or she so chooses for a more exciting drive. Does it succeed? Well, not if you are going to compare it to, say, an XE or a 3 Series, but for a Volvo, the S60 does do a pretty good job of getting a move on. The engine does grunt a little bit when being pushed, but once it does get into its element, the S60 will actually deliver. The problem though is not with the engine, not even because of that sound it makes. At least it's trying, and it's showing you that it is trying to give you that extra sense of excitement. The problem though is with the 8-speed gearbox right here. When you're pushing the car, the gearbox tends to sort of wonder which gear to slot itself in. And well, that is a little bit of a concern, because you do end up losing that split second, or a little more than the split second. Once it does figure that out though, like now, plus that hesitation, and it gets the slot right now, and it moves the car forward just as you would want it to. The steering wheel lack feedback at high speeds, but it's still really planted, and straight lines are, well, not a problem at all for the S60. Having said that, the car does make turns really well. Even at speeds, there is that level of precision that you require. But on the flip side again, there is body roll, and you will feel things falling and your body sort of rolling one way or the other. So again, points to the seat, because it's got the bolstering on the side to keep you sort of planted, but there is body roll that's definitely noticeable here. The suspension setup inside the S60 is definitely on the stiffer side. What that basically translates to is a more comfortable experience when you're driving on roads that are less than perfect. So if you're a viewer who's watching this in Delhi and you know the road, the flyover that leads up to the airport around Vasant Vihar, well, the top layer of that flyover in bits and pieces has eroded, and yet the S60 did a fantastic job of keeping me planted. But craters, speed breakers which are larger than they should be, the S60 does let a little bit of vibration creep in. However, the S60's seats are just so plush, just so comfortable, that it takes it upon itself to absorb most of the pressure. So The vibrations are there, definitely, and you will feel it, but you will also thank these fantastic seats for keeping the ride comfortable and planted. The safety features inside the Volvo is something that we keep coming back to, and there are, of course, a whole lot of them inside this car. You can turn some of them off, but I've tried some of them on and they are on point. Now, for example, the lane assist system. It's available in different cars across segments, yes, but in Volvo, it's a lot more pronounced. So that's Volvo's way of saying and then underlining that you really need to be keeping in your lane for a safer drive. Now, even things like the assisted pilot system is something I've tried, which basically relies on the onboard computers to judge how far the car ahead is in. It's constantly tracking its speed and will mitigate if there is any sudden braking from the car in front and brake on your behalf. Give it a clear open road and it will also accelerate to the level that you have set. So if I set, say, 100 kmph, I don't have to really put my foot on the accelerator. If there is an open stretch of road, the S60 and other Volvo cars which have these features will do it for you. Now, I'm all for safety features, and in Indian conditions, the more the merrier. But some of these features definitely need to be customized for Indian conditions, considering the roads here are packed, not just with cars or trucks. There are also scooters, there are pedestrians, and the computer on board is constantly overthinking and perhaps braking a little too much, a little too frequently, even at times when perhaps the braking is not required. Of course, everything said and done, you as the driver, you as the person behind the wheel have to pay attention at all times. My biggest takeaway, to summarize, is that the S60 is definitely more engaging, more powerful than its predecessor, but is it an XC? Is it a 3 Series? Well, it's not quite there. Is it trying to be there? Well, it just seems like it is. Now remember, Volvo internationally has limited the speed, the top speed, to 180 kmph. I, for one, am a firm supporter of that move. You really don't have roads which either legally allow you to drive beyond that speed limit or roads where you should be even if it's legal. So on that count, Volvo gets my full support and full marks. The S60 from Volvo now has more armaments than ever before to take on its formidable rivals like the Jaguar XE and the 3 German musketeers, the Mercedes C-Class, Audi A4 and the BMW 3 Series. The bookings for this car start in January of 2021, and as I previously mentioned, the launch will take place in March. What do you make of the latest that Volvo has on offer? Do let us know. And for a more detailed look at the car, check out our written review. The link is in the descriptor. Also, follow us now on Instagram as well. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, be safe.